Mr. Shutt.
Again, we generally ask questions to which we know the answer or to which we expect an answer. But as I said earlier this evening, I'm asking a question that I don't have the answer to. What do you do to someone when they don't pay their taxes?
You can't do anything. Go, I think they say maybe for 7 years before they even try to do anything with selling their property. And when somebody comes in and wants to buy somebody's property, that where they haven't paid their taxes, they don't buy the property. They just buy the tax bill. They buy the bill. They don't buy the property. And they can pay the taxes on that piece of property up to maybe, I think it's 7 years, I'm not sure. And then if they are going to buy it, these people that owns that property, they can come in and pay all the back taxes plus the interest on it and take it back. And so it's a problem. I mean, you can go for several years before anything is done about it.
Well, just like J.D. said, of course, I don't know much about the proper way to collect it, but it's a problem, and it's something that's going to have to be worked out in the future.
I really don't know what the answer is either.
Mr. Rose, your question.
Okay, as sheriff, you're going to have to, since you do not have a large manpower, as you said, Mr. Williams, you're going to have to work well with the Murray Police, with the MSU Security Force, and with other law enforcement protection agencies to maximize the law enforcement capabilities of our county. My question is, how do you plan to work with the Murray Police and the MSU Force?
I plan to join the WANT program. That's the Western Area Narcotics Team. I plan to fully cooperate with the Kentucky State Police, the Murray City Police Departments, and all other agencies surrounding here. Sheriff's Office can't be an island among itself. You got to have the cooperation. The WANT program has been making some big busts lately, and I just kind of wonder why Calloway County wasn't in it.
Well, one reason Calloway County was not in it, it goes right back to the manpower. We do not have the manpower to do that. If I send someone over there, it leaves one man here in the county. One man, it's hard for one man to take care of the county. We do not have the manpower. I didn't have the manpower to do it. And when you've just got 2 people works days and 2 people works nights, and you send one man off to somewhere else, it just don't work good.
Well, I work close with MSU and Murray Police and the Kentucky State Police, and when they have one of these needs that they need an officer, I will send one of my part-time deputies or one of the full-time that's off duty. One of my men will be going over there, and I'll still keep if I have 2 working that shift, I'll still keep the 2 in the shift working the county and send one of the ones that's off duty at the time.
Mr. Anderson.
On a 1, 2, 3, 4 basis, what do you think are the biggest criminal problems within Calloway County, and what do you think needs to be attacked first?
Well, the 2 biggest problems is drugs and then burglaries of houses. That's your main thing, or just burglary, period. And of course, like we've all said, it's going to take manpower to do it, but if you'll take the deputies that you've got and explain to them before they go to work for you that it's not going to be an 8-hour job and go home, it may consist of 12 hours, it may consist of 18 hours, and whenever there's a drug raid, all the manpower needs to be involved in it, and they need to keep up with what's going on. And if all of them work together on all the raids, there won't be anything left out where the crooks or the drug growers or whatever they might be can hide something and you don't get it all.
The drug program, the drug is the worst, to me, the worst problem because, as I said a while ago, you steal to get your drugs and then you're going to commit burglaries and things to do that. The third worst problem, I guess, would probably be cold checking. The problem with solving it, if you got trained people, even though they're limited, that can handle these things, are trained in it. And I plan to have an a detective work on these major crimes and drugs things at all times. I'm gonna give them a full range. Said go to work when you want to and do the work and do the job. Maybe getting off the subject a little bit, but that's what I believe is happening right now.
The drug problem, that is the biggest one, and the thefts is next. But when you have so much other things to do besides just working thefts, we'll take thefts for instance. We have a theft, and we go work this theft, and we do the paperwork, and we take pictures, and we find out how they got in and how they left, and we work on that for maybe a day or so. By that time, we have got to get back to our other jobs, our other things to do, our papers to serve, our warrants to serve, and then after so long, you know, you get off of that. You just got too much to do we don't have the time to follow up on these burglaries like we should. And when we do have a big burglary, we call the state police in, and they work with us on that, and they help us.
Mr. Hardy?
As the sheriff or the primary law enforcing agent of the county, what will be your philosophy or stance on the teenage drinkers or drug users within the county?
What would be my philosophy or stance?
Yes, sir. How would you plan to deal with that?
Well, if you said, for instance, you catch a teenager with drugs, you arrest him, you take him before the proper authorities. You catch him with alcohol, you try to find out where he's getting it. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Then you try to work the thing from there. It is a problem. Teenagers are buying drugs. Teenagers are selling drugs. Adults are buying drugs. I'm not talking about marijuana, I'm talking about cocaine, crack, and all that other stuff. You just have to give it your best shot. That's what I want a full-time investigator for, to work on these things, follow them up, go get them. Cooperate with these other departments. Most time these things go from inner city to inner county, interstate. Work with the federal, the DEA. It's just numerous things that can be done if you got the manpower and the ability to do it.
It all comes right back to the manpower. I would like to have a full-time detective or to follow up on these, to work on them. But if you don't have them, you don't have them. And right now, these teenagers, that's a big drug problem. And when you catch a teenager, of course, you turn that over to the juvenile officer. That's very little we can do. We have to, on a juvenile case, we turn it over to the juvenile officer, and then they have a juvenile hearing on it. And so it is a problem. I mean, with juveniles, it's a problem. You can't do, follow up like you would like to follow up on.
Well, of course, the juveniles is a problem with your drugs and alcohol, but I will get the juvenile authorities in on it, but I won't turn completely over to them. I will work with them, and back to the trained deputies. If you got trained deputies and people that don't mind working a few extra hours to devote their time to Calloway County, they will have to do this when in between their other duties. Of course, you just go from one thing to the other, but still, if you put in just a little extra time with some trained employees, you can handle this a whole lot better.